What's up, guys? Alright, so today we're going to be taking a look at this Diamond Select Valor Omega Jaeger from the Pacific Rim Uprising line. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a huge fan of Pacific Rim Uprising. I actually really liked the first movie. The second movie for me was meh at best, and so when it comes to the line and the different Jaegers and things like that, I don't remember a lot about it. I watched the movie one time, was disappointed, and never watched it again. So, just getting that out of the way right up front. As far as the figure itself goes, man, I have seen these figures online 100 times, and they never did anything for me, like ever. I would see them on Big Bad Toy Store, Amazon, or wherever, never did anything for me. Walk in to my local comic/toy shop, and saw that he had, I think, the full line of them. It was about 6 figures total, and in person, in hand, looking at this guy, I was blown away. I was like, wow, those are actually really cool. I was very impressed, and out of the 6 they had, I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna pick up one. Which one do I want? And this one was the one that stood out the most as far as just being like big, and he had the guns on his arms and everything. And I mean, he's so big that like the top of his head, you can't really see it from the front of the package because he's too tall. And he was just the biggest, most hulking looking of the Jaegers that they had. They did have a couple kaiju as well. They all looked cool, but this is the one that really got my attention. So I saw it. I had a lot of ideas in mind for it, which we'll talk about later on in the video. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to get it. So here we have it. This is what it looks like here on the back of the package. And yeah, we're going to crack this guy open, and we're going to see what we got inside. All right, so here we have him out of the package, and let's look at accessories here real quick first. And he comes with some extra hands, and that's it. He's got fisted hands there, and that's all. But, you know, I mean, he's got his guns attached to his arms, so I guess he doesn't really need any other accessories. Would have been cool if he came with, like, I don't know, a like mini kaiju or something. I don't know, but either way, it's fine. He has everything he needs, and he's got swappable hands, so there you go. As far as the figure itself goes, I'm not going to go into too much detail on the articulation. Single jointed knees, single jointed elbows. He's got rotation only at the shoulders. He does have bicep swivels there. He's got ball joint hips, and then of course his feet barely move. I mean, there's technically joints there, but because of the design of the leg and the feet, they really don't do much. And then of course he does have a ball joint torso here where he does spin around there, and his head, because of where it's positioned while it is on a ball joint, basically doesn't move. So yeah, pretty basic articulation by modern standards, but you know, giant robot character, I think it works. So let's look at the sculpt and the paint and everything on this guy. And the sculpt is great. When you look down at all the details and stuff, you look at the back, the joints that you can see here, everything at the back. You got the boosters on his back. You've got the guns there on his arms. Both of them are the same. Detail there in the hands, the torso joint, the head. I mean, details there. It looks good, looks great as far as I'm concerned. And the paint's on point. They even got nice little, you know, scuffed marks and things like that. Make it look battle worn. Not too battle worn, which I don't like when they do that. Just enough. You get some silver showing through on the edges of the paint, things like that. So they did a good job with paint. Sculpt looks great. Articulation is okay. You know, in general, it's just kind of a cool looking robot character, and that kind of plays into kind of why I got it. Again, not the biggest fan of that second movie where this was a thing, but as a giant robot character, I got some ideas. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some comparisons to some other figures and see how this guy stacks up and see where he might fit into your collection. Alright, so the first thing I thought of when I saw this guy was that he looked like the perfect figure to put into an Armor Wars display. Like if you're going back and looking at, you know, somebody has stolen Tony Stark's designs and ideas and is creating their own, versions of Iron Man and that kind of stuff. This guy just fits right in. And looking at him here with just a few of the Iron Man figures that I've got, we've got the Silver Sentinel, we've got War Machine, we've got the Hulkbuster, old school classic Toy Biz Hulkbuster, we've got the 20 Years Iron Man, we've got the Heroes Reborn Iron Man, and of course we've got Ultimate Iron Man, and he just fits right in here. I mean, he could definitely be kind of an antagonist for Iron Man, and I think he looks great like this. Alright, so another scenario I had where he might fit in is in a 7-inch line like this Warhammer series from McFarlane. Favorite series going on right now. I love the McFarlane Warhammer stuff, hands down, great stuff. And while he's not as big and as bulky, certainly the aesthetic is there, and he certainly looks like he could be, I don't know, some sort of cyborg or droid in that universe, and I think this is a good pairing. And then, of course, because of his scale being in that 7, maybe closer to 8-inch scale, throwing him up with some other 7-inch scale stuff, like we've got McFarlane's Black Suited Superman, then, of course, we've got the DC Direct, DC Essentials, Batman from Rebirth, and, having him be, I don't know, again, just some sort of bad guy or robot, cyborg, whatever it is. I mean, you do a little custom work on this, and he'd make a pretty great Metallo, honestly, with just a simple paint job, and I think this works. Alright, so let's talk about price here real quick, and depending on where you pick these guys up, I have seen them go on sale from time to time, because I don't think that Pacific Rim Uprising line was that popular, although I do know that they can be pricey occasionally, because you do got a lot of fans out there of kaiju and mechs and things like that. And he's obviously fit in perfectly, so it really kind of depends on where you're looking and where you find them, and if you have to go online and pay shipping and that kind of stuff. I found this guy at a local shop, and he was $32.99, which is pretty standard, Marvel Select, Diamond Select pricing in that $30 to $35 price range. So I was able to get him at what the standard retail price was, and for that money, he's 100% worth it. I mean, this thing is just cool. It's just a cool figure, and because he can fit in with some other lines, just because there's nothing on him that screams Pacific Rim, he just looks like a good general mech figure. I think it works great. And the thing you got to think about is this is a decent step up in quality and sculpt and paint from a lot of the Marvel Legends Build-A-Figures we get. And those things, you either have to buy an entire wave, which is going to cost you $120 to $150, maybe more if it's a popular wave, or if you try to buy those figures on the aftermarket, they sell for $40, $50, $60, $70, $80, $100 sometimes, especially with something that's as cool looking as this with sculpt and paint. I mean, Marvel Legends doesn't do detail and paint work like this. And you're able to pick this guy up for, again, $30, $35, whatever it might be. Maybe you pay a little shipping. Maybe you go up to $40 on this. But if you look at him as far as quality goes, in the sculpting and everything else, and compare him on that level, I mean, this is a better figure than any Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure you're going to get. It's going to have more detail. It's going to have all the cool stuff. He's got the guns, giant robot figure, great sculpt. I mean, really, it is a good price for what you're getting, and I, for one, am very happy to have picked him up. In fact, I kind of want to go back and get some more of the Jaegers that my shop had, because I think this thing is really, really cool. So, I mean, in the end, if you're looking for just a cool robot figure, whether or not you like Pacific Rim or specifically the second movie, this thing's great. I think it can fit into several different lines. Hell, if you do some customizing and some paint work, you could do a whole lot more with this guy. And hands down, I think this is a good deal and definitely something you should check out.